Welcome back. In Toronto, police are investigating a shooting outside the home of rapper Drake. Police say his security guard was shot and he has serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Drake was not home at the time. The shooting comes amid reports of an escalating conflict between Drake and Los Angeles rapper Kendrick Lamar, but it is unclear if it's connected to the shooting. Now, the back and forth between the rappers has been a hot topic in the music industry. Here to help us put things into perspective is Con Santori Davison, a music writer for the Detroit Metro Times. Thanks for joining us today, Con.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to have you. So for those who haven't been following all of the back and forth, this has been going on for a little while now. Can we start from the beginning and just explain how we got here? Where did this start and how did we get to where we are now?
Well, these two artists, both Drake and Kendrick, had been throwing subtle and not so subtle jabs at each other over several years. Kendrick, along with artists Metro Woman and Future, released a track called "It's Like That," in which in which Kendrick made the comment, "There's no big three, there's just a big me." I'm paraphrasing, essentially saying that for those that don't understand, that the big three he's referring to would be him, J. Cole, and Drake, and Kendrick was announcing himself like, "Hey, there are no others. I'm on top of the hip hop pyramid here," and that was early. That was what, a month and a half ago or so, somewhere in there. And Drake responded with a track called "Push Ups," and then the back and forth had commenced at that point.
Yeah, I mean, people might be surprised because we've seen these two in the past. They used to be friends. So how do you think we really got here? Do you think this is true beef and conflict? Or, I don't know, is there something deeper than that? Because they're sure getting a lot of publicity.
Yes, well, my personal opinion at first, that, as you said, it was publicity. Was this generic beef? Was this really real? Or was it just competitive sparring? Because hip hop is competitive, battle rapping, it's ego driven. Who's on top? I'm better than you. I rap better than you. I sell more records than you. Those are things that all play into hip hop. But things got personal when you start bringing in people's fiancés, child's mothers, wives, accusing them of being pedophiles. Now it's personal. Now it's not. Now we're beyond. This is for show. Now we're really taking strong jabs at each other.
Yeah. Where do you think this is all headed? I mean, we've seen worst case scenario in the past when a lyrical battle turns into something much more serious. And we mentioned the shooting in Toronto. We don't know if that's connected, but where do you think this is all headed now?
I hope it's come down to a cease, and I have to let it be known that Drake and Kendrick, neither one of them weaponized their fan bases to, attack each other. So, while they're both fan bases were into it, has dominated all the headlines and conversations around hip hop. It didn't have the energy of "this is going to get bad, this is going to get violent." That was absent from it. This was really kept in the studio, and it got nasty and personal, but it never felt like it was going to get violent. So hopefully that's a isolated incident that's unrelated.
Yeah, hopefully just sticks to the lyrics and is all art. I mean, with the art in consideration, who do you think is winning? Would you assign points in this battle?
I would say Kendrick won with that last track, "Not Like Us." A lot of times, for those that don't know, when you get into, as we call them, diss tracks and going back and forth, a lot of times those tracks are absent in songs that can make you dance. You listen to it to hear what's being said about the person they're sparring against, but you don't listen to dance. You don't listen to groove. You don't listen for this to be a hit record. And Kendrick would "Not Like Us." He threw some strong jabs at Drake, and it was the song was very authentic to the West Coast where he's from, and it made people get out their seat and dance and party. Sonically it felt good, and he took down a major rapper. So it was amazing. But I think maybe it has came to a cease.
All right. I mean, overall, this is kind of an art form of its own. Where would you rank this in other beefs that we have seen? How significant is this?
It's extremely significant because beefs and going back and forth and verbal sparring happen all the time in hip hop, but it doesn't happen routinely at artists at this level. We're not just talking about up and comers. We're talking about two of the biggest hip hop artists of the last 10 to 15 years. they've probably collectively sold well over 100 million records and streams and whatnot. So it doesn't get really any bigger. So
Yeah.
the notoriety, the size, the magnitude of this battle is built on these are extremely major artists. They're commercial artists. They sell records. So this would have to be a top three battle, right up there with Nas versus Jay-Z, 20 years ago, and Pac versus Biggie and all of that.
All right, well, we will keep watching to see what happens next. Con Santori Davison, music writer for Detroit Metro Times. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Have a great evening.
You too.